Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have special guest Teri Leigh. Teri is a mindfulness coach and author who specializes in working with people through major life transitions. Teri's simple and practical step-by-step approach is based on decades of practice in anatomy, neuro-plasticity, linguistics, yoga, and meditation, just to name a few. Teri strives to make scientific and practical sense of the deeper esoteric and metaphysical wisdoms of spirituality in a way that people can understand. Welcome, Teri. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Tanya.
So you and I, we're going to dive into the scientific and the esoteric areas of the chakra system and how we can live and create with color. And so we're going to actually break down the chakra system in a way that is easy for everyone to understand. And we're going to talk about what they are, where they're located in the body. We're going to talk about the colors and the sounds and even the syllables associated with each. But first, let's start off with, how do we pronounce, is it chakra or is it chakra?
I personally prefer chakra and rolling the R, but I don't do that very often because it's difficult for my American tongue. But I like to emphasize the CH, almost like a CHT, chak, ta, ta.
Like chalk. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like chalk, but there's a T in there almost. It gives that real sharp emphasis at the beginning. And then the ahs are more of the sound, chakra. Because the ah is very opening for our energy. That sound is very opening. The anahata chakra is about the heart chakra of opening. So if you emphasize the ah sound, it gives you that concept of opening your chakras.
Yes. And, and I think when I first started learning about them, I would say chakra with a SH. And now as I learn more about resonant tuning and understanding our language, and like you said, the ah and those certain syllables that play a role in there, I say it too, chakra, just like you do with that rolling of the R. And so, Teri, what are the chakras, and can you explain them from both a scientific and a practical perspective?
Typically, people think of the chakras as these balls of light and energy, and it's very woo-woo and esoteric. I take it into a very physical and practical perspective. We have a brain and a nervous system, and the brain is in our head, and then all of our nerves run down the spinal cord and out as like this branch system through your whole body, right?
Yes.
And a chakra is anytime a nerve crosses another nerve, there's an intersection. So there are 72 million nerve intersections in your body. And so we have 72 million
And your
chakras.
belly button is connected to all of those. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
That's my belly button is amazing.
And then all your nerve endings are in your ears. All your nerve endings are in your feet. For women, the clitoris has many, many, many of them. So the chakras, there are a lot of very, very, very powerful chakras in our system. So when we speak of the 7 major chakras, those are the 7 greater intersections along your spinal cord from your brain down to your tailbone. And that's where the bigger branches of the nerves branch out. And each of the 7 major chakras, where it lives in the body, symbolically and metaphorically and energetically speaks to what that part of your body is about. So your root chakra is at the base of your spine, and it branches down your feet to your feet. Well, your legs and your feet are your support system. So your root chakra governs your support.
Yes.
And it works all the way up your nervous system. So really, to balance and align your chakras, it's not about opening and closing them, because to open them, actually to close them means you're dead.
Yeah.
Like if you don't
and
have
we're never
nerves,
dead, because we're infinite
right,
beings, right?
Even if we are like paralyzed from a certain part of our body down, there's still energy, there's still prana, there's still oxygen and life force and molecules and atoms running through those nerves to keep those body parts alive. We just don't have the sensation for them. So to close a chakra is really to mean that we don't have that prana moving.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really wanting to learn how to exercise or calibrate the chakras, which are nerve bundles, big, huge bundles of nerves, so that we can exercise them to adapt themselves to what's going on in our world. Because our nerves are about receiving information about what's happening in the outside world, outside of our bodies and inside our bodies.
Yeah.
And so we want to exercise the chakras to be able to turn up the nerves and turn up the messages going between the brain and the body to say, hey, we got to pay attention to this when things are happening, versus turning it down when things aren't happening. And that's a really easy example is the root chakra, which is about safety and support. If you are walking down a dark alley where there's scary things and there's criminal people and you don't know what's happening, you need to turn up your root chakra to turn up your safety awareness and to turn up those nerves to be on high alert. So you need that chakra to be more sensitive, more palpable, more calibrated towards I'm not safe. But if you're sitting home and you've got the doors locked and the weather's perfect and you're Netflix and chill, you don't need those high alert nerves of your root chakra turned up. So that's when the root chakra needs to turn down. And when the chakras are out of balance, using that root chakra example, is when they calibrate themselves not according to what's going on in your world in the present moment, but according to past history and fears and post-traumatic stress and other stresses that you carry already in your nervous system. And really, your chakras being part of your nerves, they carry the entire history. All of your nerves carry all the information, because that's what nerves do, is they process information throughout your body. They carry all the information of everything, single experience you've ever had in your life, every single memory, every single thing you don't remember, as well as every single thing all your ancestors experienced in your DNA. So the chakras are this massive, like, filing cabinet of data. And then the ability to move that data around and say, oh, I'm grabbing this information to do what needs to be done according to what's happening in our world and in our lives, and use it appropriately at the right time.
Wow. So it's probably safe to say a large portion of the world is in the root chakra, right? A lot of us have that imbalance. And as we begin to understand the chakra systems and being able to create more harmony and balance, we can move out of that sense of fear and that sense of that fight, flight, or freeze that, I mean, I know myself working in trauma for nearly 20 years, I was really in that fight, flight, or freeze. So I was really in the root. And it was funny, every time I'd go to my Reiki healer, she'd say, your root chakra is out of balance. Every time she'd tell me. I didn't understand at the time what that meant. And now I do, because it was because I was in that fight, flight, or freeze almost every single day nonstop.
And we need that to keep ourselves safe. We need a good, healthy level of fear to turn up those nerves when there is a threat. But we also need to be able to turn down when there's not a threat and to turn off. And anxiety is a healthy emotion in the right times, but it's not a healthy emotion in other times.
Yeah, like long
And so
term.
finding the way to adjust and calibrate and deal with a healthy level of anxiety so that we are on high alert when we're in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And that danger not just being a physical fear of death, but that danger being emotional danger or spiritual danger or toxic relationship danger. We need to be able to exercise that as well.
Absolutely. And so, Teri, what I'd like to do is I'd like for us to move through the 7 main chakras, starting with a root and working our way up. And I'd like to talk about the different things associated with each of these seven chakras. And, you know, from being color to statements to syllables to sounds. And that way, you know, for those out there who this may be new information, right? This wasn't something we were taught in school. Now, you said that you knew this since you were 10 years old. So many of us hold this in our DNA, right? We hold it in our cellular structure, and it's kind of just laying dormant for us to remember it at a certain point. And so I think, if as we go through this, it may help activate some people in remembering some of these aspects. So let's start off with the root. What can you tell us about the root chakra?
So the root chakra sits at the base of the spine, right at the base of the sacrum, and it governs all the nerves that go down your legs and feet. So anytime you have issues going on in your legs and feet, it's your root chakra kind of saying, hello, pay attention to me. And so when we think metaphorically and symbolically, what do our legs and feet do? They give us support. They are our support, our stability on this earth. So the words of stability, security, safety, support, foundation, those things in our lives are governed by our root chakra. And when those things are out of balance, when we don't have enough money, we don't have the foundation we need to provide what we need, when our basic needs are not met, it's going to show up in the root chakra.
Yeah.
And it's going to show up both in how we stand on our legs and how we stand on our feet. You'd be amazed how many people, probably most of world culture, stand with their feet pointing out.
Oh, yeah.
And as they stand with their feet pointing out, they are not as stable as they could be if they stood with their feet straight. Mm-hmm. So that tiny change, this is how I teach my clients, that tiny change of just turning the feet to a straight stance will make you feel much more stable, much more secure, much more safe in any instance. And so what I teach is how to get people to be aware of the body parts and the nerves running down those body parts that are connected to those chakras, to your 7 chakras, and how to use them in an everyday, simple, basic way.
Yeah. And that's something that, I learned in yoga, that mountain pose, just pulling your feet in and creating that stability and that balance. And, I never really thought about that, just that simple shift from moving your feet to that, and I played basketball in my, college years, and there was a lot of ways that they would teach us to hold stable, and it was always your feet were square. Your feet were square. So that's really neat that you can apply that. And so what, I can kind of chime in literally on some of the sound frequencies associated with the root chakra. So when you are chanting, Lam is what is associated with the root, and the solfeggio frequency is 396 hertz. And so when I talk about solfeggio frequencies, these are also called the holy tones or the sacred frequencies. And there was originally a set of 6 of them, and now there are 9 that they found out. And each one of these, when you break down the numbers, so you have 396, you add those numbers together and you get 18. And then you add the 8 and the 1, and that equals a 3. So every single one of these holy tones actually breaks down to either a 3, a 6, or a 9. And this is what Nikola Tesla talked about, the power of the 3, 6, and 9. And so each of these, as Teri and I go through the chakras, she's going to talk a little bit about the scientific aspect behind it and how the physical body associates with it. And I'm also going to bring in the esoteric knowledge, there too. So for those of you out there that want a little bit of both. So we're looking at the root chakra, which now, Teri, what color is associated with the root?
So the root chakra is red, but I also like to think of it as like deep earth clay red, because that's the element, the natural element connected to the root chakra is earth, soil. So if you think of red and soil and the color of roots of trees and so forth, and then to jump off your concept of the sacred frequencies, think of your nerves as wires, and wires being what conduct information. As we use telephone wires and wires within our networks of our computers, our nerves are those wires, and you want those wires to be tuned to the right frequency to process that information appropriately. And so that's why the frequency, like a fiber optic network, that's why you want the right frequency on each chakra. So if you're chanting Lam and you're playing that frequency, it's going to tune the sound waves and tune the messages going through your root chakra most effectively.
Absolutely. Just like tuning forks would. So, as you work through the chakra and you're chanting, say you're chanting Lam and you're listening to 396 hertz, you're going to want to tune yourself, the LAM, to that 396 hertz, and that's naturally going to balance out that root chakra. And so is there anything else we need to share on the root, or should we move on to the next?
I think we can move on.
Okay, so the next one we have is the sacral chakra. So Teri, what can you tell us about that one?
That chakra, the sacral, as I say, you say sacral, it's the svadhisthana. It lives in your pelvis. So your pelvis and your hips, which your pelvis and your hips are really about, in your body, they're about movement. If you don't have hips, you're kind of peg-legging around. And you can tell people who have difficulty in their hips and their sacral chakra because they kind of waddle instead of moving fluidly with their legs and their hips. And so the sacral chakra is really about fluid and movement. But also you look at what's inside the sacral chakra and inside your pelvis. Well, inside your pelvis is your bladder, it's your anus, it's your poop and your pee. It's, for women, it's your menses and your womb. For men, it's your scrotum and your and all that. And all of those organs, all of them have one thing in common. They're all about holding on until it's time to let go. You hold on to your pee until it's time to pee, and you let it go. You hold on to your poop until it's compacted just enough, and then you poop and let it go. You get rid of your shit when you're done with it. Sorry for the French. And same thing with your menses, same thing with your reproductive juices.
And it's also very flowing as well, very liquid also.
Right, right. And everything in there, well, that tells you that that's about the parts of your life where you have to have this balance between holding on and letting go. Everything we attract in our lives, we need to hold on for a certain time, but eventually we have to let it go. Money comes in, we hold it, we put it in savings, we let it go. We spend it, we give it away. Not just money, but anything in life, our food, our stuff, our friendships, our relationships, they all come and go and flow. And so your sacral chakra is about that flow. And one of the things that happens with flow is creativity. Well, also the sacral organs are about creating things. And that's what lives in your sacral chakra, is that creation. So the natural element of the sacral chakra is water. And so you want to have that right balance of being able to move and flow your hips. So while I teach the root chakra is grounding with your feet straight, the sacral chakra is a learning about how to manipulate your hips almost in that hula hoop fluid motion so that you can hold on to control and let go at the same time. So what are the esoteric? What's the hertz?
Yeah,
what's the color?
The esoteric for the sacral or the sacral. And one thing I did not mention about the root chakra is that 390 hertz, 396, when you listen to that, it actually liberates fear and guilt. And so I wanted to talk about that as well. And so the sacral is I feel, right? It's our pleasure area. And so the syllable is VAM, V-A-M, VAM, and the solfeggio is 417 hertz. And that brings about change. And that's what you talked about, that holding on and letting go, allowing yourself to open yourself up to change. And so Teri, what color is associated with the sacral?
Orange. And it's a very bright, brilliant, I mean, all colors of orange, but as like, if you look at a tree that's changing its color from red to orange, that vibrant, alive, very juicy. I think of orange as that juicy color, and the sacral chakra is very juicy.
Literally and figuratively, right?
And I want to emphasize again, like I did in the root chakra, that the emotions, we tend to think about alleviating the fear in the root chakra, but we need the fear. We need it to keep us safe. So it's not about getting rid of the bad emotions and keeping the good emotions. It's about finding the right balance. And so in the sacral chakra, it's about that flow and that freedom and that play and that letting go, but you also have to have control. And you also have to have that holding on. And some of that lies in guilt, which is the shadow emotion of the sacral chakra. But we need enough guilt to stop us from going off the deep end and play and not getting our responsible things done. So you need to find that good balance.
Absolutely. And so as we move up to the next chakra, we have the solar plexus. So Teri, what can you tell us about that?
The solar plexus lives between your ribs and your hips and all that soft tissue. So there's not a whole lot of bones in there. So we really think of it as soft tissue and what's inside there, but all your digestive organs. And your digestive organs, what are their purpose? But they take in the outside world, they take in food, they take in nourishment, and then they break it down and they decide this is good for me and this is not. And so really the solar plexus chakra is about determining this is who I am and this is what works for me. Identity, ego, pride, confidence, strength, as well as this doesn't work for me, not enough, or this isn't a good fit. And it's that identity and strength and also a sense of ease or like softness because of the soft tissue. Mm-hmm. And I love the name of the chakras too, is what they mean. Manipura is the name of the third chakra, the core or the solar plexus, and it means precious gem. Oh. And so I think of it like when we look at precious gems in a museum, we see them on a velvet pillow, which is what our core belly is. It's this beautiful velvet pillow that has this strong, solid core inside it. And so it really is about this sense of this is who I am, and it's soft and beautiful and sweet, but it's also strong and core and central.
I love that. And the color associated with the solar plexus?
Yellow.
Yes.
Which is interesting because we think of the color yellow as yellow-bellied or lack of courage.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's also of the color of the sun, which is very powerful in fire. So you've got to look at both sides. Like there's that yellow belly where we get a little soft, and also the fire and the strength where we get very, very powerful. And so the core chakra, the solar plexus chakra, is about that balance of being strong, but also soft in the strength. You don't want to be a bully. You don't want to be too strong where you're overpowering everything, but you don't also want to be vulnerable and weak all the time. So you find that middle balance of the soft strength.
Absolutely. And I love that color. I love the sacral to the solar plexus, just that transition of that orange to that yellow. I'm very guided to that oftentimes. And so the solar plexus, we're looking at I do or I act. Those are the terms for the solar plexus. And the syllable is Ram, R-A-M. And the solfeggio frequency is 528 hertz, which leads into transformations and miracles. And so it's a very powerful, now 528 hertz is the universal frequency. That is the frequency that resonates through the entire, now all of these do, but 528 hertz is the one frequency that is the most powerful in all of the universe. And so it's very interesting that it's associated. Most would associate it with the heart, but actually when you're looking at it from the chakras, it's associated with that solar plexus and in between the heart. And so as we're moving on, now we are moving up to the heart chakra. So Teri, what can you tell us?
I want to jump in and say this, that the natural element of the core solar plexus chakra is fire. And fire is true transformation and power. We just saw that in Maui. Like fire makes things change and it makes things happen. So, and the sun is fire.
It does. And I feel that because I'm an Aries sun sign and I'm a fire. So I think that's probably why I am guided to the solar plexus so much. And just that, like I said, you know, I was telling you before we started recording, I'm in the Spokane, Washington area. We've had a lot of fires. We were probably the worst air quality over the last 3 days in the world. I mean, it was terrible, but it's beautiful because it's raining right now. And so it really brought in this beautiful shift. And the weather too, it's been in the hundreds and now today it's 60. It feels beautiful. And so, you know, like we talked about, just that transformation that takes place. And so as we move up, now we move into the heart. So what can you tell us about the heart, Teri?
The heart chakra encompasses all the nerves that move from what's behind your ribs and connected to your ribs. So it's your arms, your hands, your elbows, your wrists, your shoulders, but also your heart and lungs. And what do your heart and lungs do all day long? But they give out and take in and give out and take in. And that's really what the heart chakra is about. It's about giving and receiving. if you give too much, you get to be taken advantage of and you lose too much of your power that way. And if you take too much, you get to be too much of a money grubber and a life taker. And that doesn't create balance either. But what do we do with our arms? But we take in and we give away. And so the whole essence of the heart chakra is about finding that balance of what do I give and what do I receive. And if you really think about breath, what we do is we breathe all day long, and every atom of oxygen, every atom of breath we take in, we also give out. Heart chakra really is about that connection. And really the definition of love is I give and I take from you equally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the color is green.
The mycelium for mushrooms and trees. It's like this, like you talked about the nervous system and how it branches out and it connects, it's like you have all these different looking mushrooms, but they're all connected by the mycelium, and so it's just a really beautiful way how the universe fractalizes from the microcosm to the macrocosm and vice versa, and so so what are the colors associated with the heart chakra?
So the color of the heart chakra is green, which is also the color of photosynthesis. When we breathe, we're breathing what the trees are breathing out, and the trees are breathing in what we breathe out. So green is really that color of lush life connection. And the element connected to the heart chakra is air. And so if you learn how to hold your chest and how to open your chest and arms in a way that you get the fullest expression of your ribs and your lungs to take in that green, fresh oxygen from the photosynthesis of all life force on the planet, you really are coming to that connection of full oneness and full unity with everything on the planet.
Absolutely.
But it's a practice to really learn how to align your posture in the right way to get the fullest breath possible throughout your whole day. And so often we go through life and we forget to breathe.
We do. And I've even done shows on this that many of us haven't even been taught how to breathe correctly, and we shallow breathe throughout the day. And
we don't know how our posture impacts our breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And how you can shift your energy just by changing how you hold your body.
Yeah. And that's so important. And so when we're talking about the heart chakra, I love, obviously, is the statement. And the syllable is yam, Y-A-M, like yam, but it's pronounced yam. And the solfeggio is 639 hertz, which heals connections. So it heals all of our connections, whether that's with people or finances or whatever connections it is, it heals those deeper connections. Yeah. And so,
which is what the heart chakra is. It's
absolutely
connecting with all elements within the universe.
Yes. And it's very powerful. And so as we're moving on up to the throat chakra now, and this is an area that I notice oftentimes when I'm working with people, I can immediately sense the imbalance or the balance within the throat chakra. And so, Teri, what can you tell us about the throat?
So the throat is a really interesting chakra because it's the column of energy between the brain and the body. And so every single thing we think needs to go through the column of your neck to the rest of your body. So really, it is the center of communication. It's the center of information. And the element there is mineral, which is what we communicate with, wires and stone and so forth. And we are only exposed mineral in our body as our teeth, which is partially connected to our throat chakra. And the throat chakra is not just about expression, like giving information out, but it's also about taking information in. So it's that really delicate balance between listening and speaking.
Yes.
And also that balance between processing all that information and being very clear and honest about it. So Vishuddha is the name of the throat chakra, and it means honest purity. Ooh. So it really means truth with a capital T. Like this is the clearest, purest, most honest truth. Well, truth is always colored by all the experiences that we've had, and our chakras are carrying all those experiences. So the truths we experience in life, the truths we hold in our throat chakra are ever growing. What happens with people that I see very often is we are so busy living life in front of us, that we bring our heads forward and we put our noses where they don't belong, and then we're dropping our heads to look at our phones, and that's all kinking the hose and kinking and folding the wires in our throat chakra. And if our throat chakra is a bunch of nerves in this big column, and you bend that column, it's going to cross those wires and confuse the communication.
Absolutely.
So the best way to really, one of the best ways to really clear and balance the throat chakra is to align your head and neck. Mm-hmm. By really putting the head over your column of your neck in great alignment with the rest of the spine. And you can hear it just as I'm speaking now. If I drop my chin and pull my head in alignment, you can hear my voice deepen and get more resonant. But if I start to put my nose forward, put it where it doesn't belong, stick my chin out a little bit too much, my voice gets tinny and wiry, and it doesn't have as much power. Mm-hmm. So just the cell phone world of people looking down is folding
your computer
and compressing
too, right?
Our ability to communicate and express and to listen and to receive. And so we're looking for that balance of how to listen and receive information, how to process that information for ourselves, and then how to communicate that out to the world.
Yeah, because you'll often see that, I can tell if someone has an overactive throat chakra, they're talking a lot and not listening and not processing, versus an underactive where they're listening too much and holding their tongue, literally holding their tongue and not allowing that energy to properly flow through that area. And so, Teri, what color is associated with the throat?
Blue.
Blue. And so, and you said mineral was the element. And so as we're looking at the throat, the words are I speak or I talk. And the syllable is ham, H-A-M, like ham, but pronounced ham. And the solfeggio is 741 hertz, which leads into self-expression, which is what you just explained. And so is there anything else about the throat that we need to talk about?
I think I do want to emphasize that the throat isn't just the throat, but it's the lower jaw and your lower ears. So it does encompass the listening. Mm-hmm. And it's the back of your tongue and the back of your throat. So it's not just this part of your body, but it's actually from here down.
Yeah.
To your collarbone.
Yeah. So the collarbone up to the lower ears. Yeah. Because I think for me, I grew up in a family where I had to fight to be heard. I had to speak above others. And I could definitely tell over the years, my hearing started to go bad. I couldn't hear as well. Well, once I started to balance out the throat chakra, I noticed that my clairaudience kicked in and I can now really hear things. And so I was very imbalanced in that area. And I think many are. If you've got thyroid concerns, there's a lot going on, in the throat area. So as we move on up, we're moving up to the third eye. So Teri, what can you tell us about the third eye chakra?
I love teaching the third eye chakra because it's the way I teach it is I've never heard anyone else explain it this way. The third eye encompasses all 5 of your senses. So it's your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, and your skin. And of course, it's your skin of your whole body as well. But where do all of your 5 senses merge but in your sinuses? And people talk about the pineal gland and all that kind of stuff inside as your third eye chakra. But if you look at all 5 of your senses merge in your sinuses, and your sinuses are a whole bunch of caverns behind your face. So really the third eye is your whole face, and those caverns behind them where it all merges is your 6th sense. But it's not a 6th sense. It's all 5 senses working together as one. So it's your 5 senses merging because they all merge in that sinus cavity. And so the first thing I say to people when they ask me, I'm all stuffed up. It's interesting. My light's flickering as we're talking about third eye.
Your third eye is woo.
Yeah. I think I'll just unplug it. So the 5 senses merging as one, and people ask me like, why am I so stuffed up? Well, your senses stuffed up is because you're receiving so much input into your 5 senses that your 5 senses can't process it fast enough, and it doesn't like what it's receiving. And it's not able to tap into the intuitive wisdom of all the senses working together. And so one of the greatest ways to balance your third eye chakra is to do very deep breathing through the back of your nose and throat. In yoga, we call it ujjayi breathing. It's almost a snore. And that snore will clear out your sinus cavity. And when your sinuses are clear, then you get that little tickle rattle with a slight snore back there. And that sends nerve endings to your brain, nerve responses to your brain that tell your brain to calm down and listen to the intuitive truth. And the element of the third eye chakra is nature. Everything out in nature that's alive. Because everything out in nature that's alive, they function by pure instinct. So all animals, plants, and trees, they bypass the conscious brain and go straight to the intuitive, instinctual, I already know this brain. And that's what we humans lack in our capacity, is how to bypass that conscious brain and get into, I already know this because it's in a collective wisdom of everything I've been through in my life and everything my ancestors have been through in their lives and everything that's happening on the planet as a whole. So learning how to soften your face into resting happy face and clear out your sinuses.
Bitch face, right?
Yeah. That's the last thing you want to do, because resting bitch face actually tightens up all those muscles and closes up your sinuses.
Yeah.
So if you can open up a slight opening of your jaw, a real opening of your throat and your back of your nose, an opening of your eyes and a softening of all the muscles in your face, even with a slight smile and a deep breath, you tap into that deeper wisdom of all the information that already lives inside your DNA.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to connect with nature, because it helps us reset that too. And so, Teri, what is the third eye called, and what is the color associated with it?
It's the ajna, which really means command, because it is where all the history is and all the history lives. And the color is indigo.
Indigo. Beautiful. And so the term associated with the third eye is I see. Okay, I see. And the symbol is Om. So Om, O-M. And the solfeggio is 852 hertz, which helps us see through illusions. Yeah.
Yep.
No. And so as we move up to the next one, we've got the crown chakra. So Teri, what can you tell us about the crown?
The crown chakra is Sahasrara, and it lives in the brain and the crown of the head. So it's not your face, but it's every other part of your head. And it really is your opening to the divine and the opening to the deeper wisdom of the ultimate universe, because that's what a crown is. If you think of a queen or a king wearing a crown, well, they wear all these gemstones over their heads to activate, like crystals would do, to activate that energy at the crown of your head. The window into your crown chakra, and one of the easiest, more practical ways to activate your crown chakra, is through your eyeballs, through your vision. Because really the crown chakra is about focusing that vision from a spiritual and scientific, a esoteric and practical. It's that two-sided wisdom. And your brain has two hemispheres. There's the left brain, practical, logical, reasoning. The right brain, creative, artistic, esoteric, mystical. And the two have to work together as one. Your right brain controls your left body, and your left brain controls your right body. So there's two ways to activate and balance that crown chakra, which is balancing the esoteric with the scientific, the practical with the magical, and finding that we can live in both the spiritual and the mundane. And the way to do that is to focus your eyes, because you cannot, well, there are a few people, but most people cannot move their eyes separate of each other. You can move your right finger and your left finger separate of each other, but you can't move your eyes in different directions. There's a few people with walleye or whatever that can do that.
Doll's eyes in trauma. They're bouncing around in there.
So when you're working your eyes, you're actually working both sides of your brain at the same time. And then when you focus and then unfocus your eyes, it gets you into that understanding of focus is here in this practical mundane, and then unfocused is the spiritual, mystical, magical that you can't quite see. Practical focus, I can see it. believe it, unfocused, can't see it, but I know it's there, kind of thing. So you can do it by focusing and unfocusing your eyes, but you also can balance your crown chakra just by walking. And when you're walking, matching your breath to the opposite action of your arms and legs. Your right arm and your left leg forward, your left arm and your right leg forward, because you're using both body parts, both sides of your brain at the same time, opposite each other.
Yeah.
And so that breathing with the cross body momentum can get both sides of your brain working together, especially if you're out in nature and you're looking at nature in the awe and the glory of this is magical, this is mystical. It's also very practical and mundane.
It is. And that's natural for us to walk, right? That's something that's very ingrained in us. I know another technique that I learned from Donna Eden is you just kind of stand still, lift one knee up, like say you lift your left knee up, take your right hand and put it over and then do the opposite on each side. And really, like you said, what you're doing is you're just crossing over those different hemispheres of the brain. And so,
yeah.
And so what colors associated with the crown chakra, Teri?
Some people say violet and some people say white. I kind of see it as this magical opal-esque that when I see people's crown chakras, it's all different colors.
Yeah.
Like
I
an
see that
opal
too,
kind
like
of
almost
changes.
like an angel aura quartz, almost, if you know what those look like, just a very beautiful, translucent colored. Yeah. I see that too. And so the words associated with the crown are I understand. And the syllable is Aum, A-U-M, okay, similar to Om, but Aum, a little different. And the solfeggio is 963 hertz. And this is all about awakening, like you said, and connecting to source energies, connecting to God, connecting to the universe, creator, whatever, you want to call it. And so now you said that there were, millions of chakras in our body. And so we just went over the main 7 today in this show, because these are the ones that are most familiar to us. And as you're learning, maybe this is all very new knowledge, to you. That's why Teri and I kind of wanted to break it down by each chakra and move our way through it. And so, Teri, how do we know when we are out of balance, and how do we know which chakra we need to balance?
Call me and I'll give you a reading.
Yeah, because it's a little more complicated, right?
Chances are when we're out of balance, we don't know it. It's when we come back to balance, we start to recognize, oh my gosh, I was way out of balance. Or you're way out, you're way out of balance because things are off the rails, crazy in your life. And it can show up as a physical ailment in your body. It can show up as a mood or an emotion. It can show up as things just not working right in your world. And what those things are, show you which chakra it is that you might need to balance or align better or calibrate or exercise better.
Yeah.
But it's a whole diagnostic practice to figure out which chakra is out of balance and why and how to fix it.
It is. And I think once you get in tune to it, I know for me, I've worked with them for so long that I can immediately say, okay, I know I've got to work in this area and, and really hone that in. And so I want to talk a little bit about manifesting and creating things with our chakra system, because this is an area where when we are, creating things through the law of vibration, the law of attraction, that we are using our chakra system. I mean, it's a part of our body, right? It's a part of our energetic system. And so, Teri, what can you tell us about that? How we can, is there something that many of us might be doing that is incorrect that maybe we need to adjust and fix? I know there's something I can share. Is there something that you could share?
Again, going back to the scientific, there's a part of our brain called the RAS, the reticular activating system. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
The reticular activating system is a part of your brain. It's a filter. Everything, I have a different perspective of manifestation than probably the rest of the world, because a lot of us think manifest means I want this and I'm going to make it happen and bring it to me. Mm-hmm. The truth is everything's already there, always. Everything is always there, but the world is so full of all these experiences and all these things and all these stimuli and all these possibilities, frequencies that we cannot consciously process it all the time. And so whatever we want to manifest is actually right in front of us and at our fingertips, possible for us to experience. But our RAS, that filter, is not showing us that it's there. So the easiest way to describe how the RAS works is through the game Yellow Cars. You will go out in the world and you'll never see a yellow car and never pay attention. But as soon as you start telling yourself, I want to see yellow cars, and you keep paying attention and looking for yellow cars, all of a sudden you'll see them everywhere. Mm-hmm. They've always been there. Everything you want to manifest is always right there in front of you. You're just not noticing that it's right there in front of you because your RAS has been trained to not notice. So really balancing and aligning and calibrating your chakras is about, because the RAS is part of your nervous system, and your nervous system is your chakra system. So when you're more balanced and aligned in your chakras, your RAS is more clear, and you can teach and train your nervous system just through brain training and neuro-plasticity to be aware of what it is you want to manifest. But it's not about making it happen or manifesting it out of the law of attraction. It's about just opening yourself up and seeing, oh, it's already there.
Yeah. And it's based off of that energy, frequency, vibration. I saw a beautiful kind of visual of this, a man with a tuning fork tuned to 432 hertz and another one tuned to 440. Every time he'd hit 440, the 432 wasn't responding. Well, the moment he shifted that 440 to 432 and hit it, the other one responded. So it was always there. That tuning fork was always there. It just wasn't on the right frequency. It wasn't on the right vibration. And so, I think too, tuning into our chakra system and understanding that each one of them holds different frequencies, we can also allow ourselves to help balance them, in a very natural way, as well as magnetize the things to us that are already hanging out there in the ethers, right?
It's just waking yourself up. And sometimes if there's a blockage, now we're not blocked in our chakras, but if we're too much in one way, then we're not able to see what's on the other side of it. And so we have to find that way to exercise and calibrate. If we're too much in fear, we're not going to see the abundance. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to exercise and calibrate. I need fear, but I also want to open my eyes to the abundance. And the tuning your frequencies will get you there.
Yeah, it's like a pendulum. If you got your pendulum swung all the way to fear, you're farther away from love over here or whatever, versus getting it to 0 point, where then you're like, okay, now I can observe both sides here and see where I'm at. But it's always just kind of fine tuning that. And, those sine waves, you've got those ebbs and flows. It's like you're up mm-hmm. and then you're down, you're up and you're down. That's the nature of the universe. It's like we can't always be flatlined,
we always have to find where we are in relation to what else is going on in the world. When we went into COVID, the whole world went into more fear, and we needed to. But then coming out of that fear, as we're coming out of COVID, we need to adjust.
Yeah, it's like it's bringing our power back, right? It's showing us where our frequency is. I mean, I think for me, it's like just seeing, wow, there's a lot of people in the frequency of fear that I didn't even realize were in that frequency. But I think now we're going into round 2 of it, and we'll see how many people have adjusted that, and I'm really curious to see how all of that shifts. And so, Teri, can you share with us a little bit about the services you provide? And you're an author as well. You want to share some of your books?
Yes, I am obviously a chakras coach, but I do it from a very scientific, practical perspective. So I work with clients both one-on-one. So you can work with me and I can teach you how to tune into your chakras in your body through teaching you how to align and calibrate your body through your nerves and your body mechanics and how you move. But I also do that in a group setting. I have a mastermind that runs January through September every year, where I take 15 people through the chakras, 1 per month, and a month to get to know each other and a month to close, and the 7 chakras in between. I also have my most popular book is called The Goldilocks Principle. It's on Amazon, and it's talking about Goldilocks, too much, too little, where's the right balance for whatever's going on. So it teaches the chakras in a very practical, almost a 5th grade science perspective, in a way that's very practical and easy for the average person to use. So if you go to my website, which is my name, terileigh.com, I really specialize in helping people through critical life events, like the major things that upset your world. When that happens, it's like a shortage of your chakra system. When you have a death of someone close to you, or you're taking someone through, you're the caretaker of someone through hospice or a major health issue, or if you've changed your career, or if you're going through empty nest, or if you yourself are dealing with a medical diagnosis, any kind of major upset in your life, which often happens more than once at a time. Like you move your house and then all of a sudden you're retiring. So when people go through these major life events, it's a short and a reset. It's like a upgrade of their chakra system, where you've got it, just like when you do with your software of your computer, you've almost got to shut down, recalibrate, and install the new software and then turn it back on. And that's how I take people through the system, is when they're going through this major life event, I walk them through the process of recalibrating every single chakra to the new frequency that's happening as a result of that life event. And it turns and it flips your perspective upside down. Rather than looking at, my mother's dying and this is the worst time of my life, it's, my mother's dying and I'm upgrading, and I get to really enjoy the whole process of life and death and growth and transformation with my mother as I'm also transforming.
Yeah.
And I help people through that process with a very spiritual and scientific perspective by giving exercises that you can do all day, every day, just by changing your posture, changing your breath, and tuning the right frequency of your voice and your word choice.
Yeah, and that's huge. The words that we use and what we say and how we put that out into the world, and understanding vowel sounds and how we chant and that resonant tuning. And so, Teri, we've talked about a lot of things today in the show. Is there anything that you feel that maybe we didn't touch on enough, or we overlooked, that you think would be of benefit or of value to those listening?
I think I'd like to end by jumping off what you just said about how important words are. There's a very popular affirmation going around TikTok a couple of years ago, and it might still be there. I don't chase, I attract.
Yes, I've seen that.
And I want to emphasize, the words we choose matter. They change our frequency. So by saying the word chase, we are actually chasing.
You're right.
And so I would say, throw out the first half of that affirmation and just say, I attract.
I attract. And because the universe
doesn't
hear the don't, right? The universe doesn't hear, I don't chase, it just hears, I chase, right?
And your nerves are going to take that frequency of the word chase and put it through your whole body. And so you're creating that essence of a cat and mouse game. I chase and then I attract, and then I run and I chase and then I run away. And you're not going to manifest what you want that way.
Yeah. And that's, and even, too, I see this a lot in, the power of the I am statement. That is a very powerful statement. However, when we're manifesting, we want to use all the chakras. I am, I feel, I act, I love, I speak, I see, I understand, right? So in incorporating all of those into whatever it is that you are attracting into your life. And so I think we get stuck in that I am, when we really need to work with all of the chakras to bring in whatever it is that we desire.
And the point is, we are in ourselves everything. We can change ourselves, and we can change our own frequency. So praying to change yourself and working with your own energies is the way to attract, to manifest, to create, to make your life the abundant life you want it to be. It's not about going out to get more money. It's about teaching yourself, I already have everything I need. It's all in front of me. I just need to see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, Teri, it was such a pleasure having you on the show. This was such a really different perspective to the chakra system. And my intention is to provide value for all of those out there listening. I mean, I know I learned a few things in this show, which was awesome. So I really appreciate you, Teri, bringing your knowledge and wisdom to the forefront for all of us to look at the chakra system in a fresh new light, and a little bit different of a perspective. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate your energy. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Namaste.
You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.